here's a film appropriately named for coming out at the Christmas season of 2015, Joy. And this brings back a wonderful group of actors for collaboration again. The film comes from director David O. Russell. Now, you may know him from some other things he's done. He did Silver Lining Playbook. He did American Hustle. And now he has Joy. Now, he's done some other films, but the interesting thing about those three films is that they all had Jennifer Lawrence in them. Jennifer Lawrence says that until she dies, if he ever wants me on a film, I'll do it. I mean, she really enjoys working with David O. Russell, and that's pretty much the feeling in the industry. He's just a good guy. And the cast that comes back together from a previous film, Silver Linings Playbook, are Jennifer Lawrence, Robert De Niro, and Bradley Cooper. Bradley Cooper was also with Jennifer Lawrence in Russell's Hustle, American Hustle. So, not bad. Oftentimes you'll see this kind of groupings in Hollywood where the same people will sort of form a team and do films together for a while. So, that's good to see this. Now, the film, maybe I should say this, is actually based on a true story. And it's based on a woman by the name of Joy, and who started a $1 million business. I mean, an empire actually, with a mop, and she was quite visible on the Home Shopping Network and QVC, things like that, selling her product. And this is that story. Joy starts with just basically an idea and with overwhelming odds against her because of the American attitude towards women, and especially in the time that she began this business. You know, this is something women didn't do. And she succeeded. So it's a thrilling ride. If you like empowerment stories, and you should, then you'll like this film. Why should you like empowerment films? Well, I'll tell you. Because stories, which film is a way of processing. Story transforms us. We are the stories we listen to. We are what stories we replay in our brain over and over again. You ever have a favorite song or a favorite movie you just listen to all the time? That's a self-defining moment. That's a self-defining song, story. That's how we live. So Joy is that kind of film. It makes you believe in the impossible, and therefore I like it. And of course, how could you not like it with a woman by the name of Jennifer Lawrence, who came out in 2015 strongly for the equality of women in terms of pay in Hollywood. Yes. The story, the story was co-written by Anne Mamolo. Now, I know you've probably never heard of her, but she is a producer, screenwriter, actress, and comedian. She was the writing behind the 2011 Bridesmaids film, that amazing film that had all those wonderful female leads in it. It was great. Anyways, she collaborated with David O. Russell for this one. And what makes that interesting is her forte is usually comedy. Bridesmaid, Joy. This is not a comedic movie, although it has comedy moments. It's not what you would call a comedy movie. It's a biography, a drama, and I won't go on. You already know, and I just want to say it's great. Now, in Bridesmaid, this is also interesting. In Bridesmaid, I mentioned that there were all these other characters, females. Well, in this one, there is also some other female characters. Like, for example, there is Diane Ladd, There is Virginia Madsen and Isabella Rossellini. Now, if you watched movies in the 80s or 90s, you're very familiar with their work. They were big stars, but so often in Hollywood, older women don't get the roles that older men do, and that's really a tragic thing. And here, David O. Russell includes those gifted, wonderful actors in this film. And isn't that great? It's just refreshing. This is the direction that Hollywood needs to be taking. Often, a male-dominated industry, such as Hollywood, can only see women in relationship to men. So we have women as wives or lovers or girlfriends or exes, but never really independent women on their own terms. And this film certainly is one of those, an independent, it shows women independent of a man, and that's great. And you don't have to have a thriller movie that stars a guy, being identified by a woman, so you don't need to have a woman identified by a man. And so that's another great strength. So I just hope that there's more of these films going forward. And what a joy that would be. I'm David the Bruce, making women visible here on Visual Hollywood.
Listen to me. I'll tell you what's going to come of you. You are going to grow up and be a strong, smart young woman. Go to school. Meet a fine young man. Have beautiful children of your own. And you're going to build wonderful things. And that is what is going to happen to you.
Don't ever think that the world owes you anything, because it doesn't. My name's Joy, by the way.
Hello. Hi there. My name's Pete Hammond. I'm going to moderate today. And did you all enjoy Joy? Yes. All right. All right, you're here on the right day. I'm going to introduce you to, first, some great cast members here, this great ensemble cast. She played Peggy, the sister who had a little bit of a problem with Joy. She was nominated for the SAG Cast Award for American Hustle and worked with David O. Russell on that film. Of course, you know her from Law & Order and so many other film and TV shows. Please welcome Elizabeth Rome. Hi there. He played Tony, the friendly ex-husband, and has so many movies coming up. He's got another movie opening this Christmas called Point Break and Hands of Stone, Gold, The Girl on the Train. Of course, you know him from Carlos and so many other things. Please welcome Edgar Ramirez. There he is. She was an Academy Award nominee for Sideways, Virginia Madsen. As Neil, three-time Oscar nominee, Bradley Cooper. Also, three-time Academy Award nominee, Diane Ladd. And the writer, director, 3-time Oscar nominee, David O. Russell. 5-time, well, writing and directing. Yes, yes, yes.
What's this? What is this? This is the black box from Mulholland Drive. Oh, it's the microphone box. Okay.
David, yes, I forgot to mention the 2 writing extraordinary. In your last 3 films, you've had 5 Academy Award nominations and worked with this great group of actors and new actors this time as well. But this movie's a little bit different, I think. This is really right-centered about female empowerment and family and a lot of things. Talk about your inspiration for wanting to do this film, wanting to do Joy, the story of Joy Mangano.
Well, starting with the fighter, each film progressively had more and more women very much at the heart of it. And that was very important to me. And I knew eventually I was going to make a film that had a woman at the center of it. And for each of these actors, most particularly the ones I've had the privilege to work with before, Jennifer, Bradley, Robert, I must aspire to create roles that are worthy of them. And for me, we used half the truth of Joy Mangano's story and half was a fable about the soul of a little girl from the age of 10 to her middle age and what made up that soul, from a metal garage to her mother's soap operas to the best divorced couple in America, to a man who ran his Lancaster, Pennsylvania cable station like it was MGM, to the unanxious presence in the room, who was the unanxious presence on our set. I mean, to the sister. The obstacles in our life are not always horrible things. They're the things that make us become what we can become. They can become beautiful things. So without the family and without Elizabeth as the obstacle, or without Robert and Isabella Rossellini, the whole endeavor is not possible. But when they become adversaries, that also becomes part of the journey that makes her become who she must become. So it was all the ability to tell a story of like the classic 40s and 50s cinema that had childhood, all different ages in it, and had a person who was very forgiving with a big heart at the center of it. And it was tougher than the last films because it's easier to make films about crazy people, I discovered, which the last 3 were about, who become somewhat regular by the end, than it is to start out with people who are relatively regular and turn into an extraordinary thing. That's the sublime always lives right next to the ordinary. They don't exist without each other. So that's what.
Yeah, and you are such a great director of actors. We have like 5 terrific actors here, and all of your movies, multiple Academy Award nominations for the actors too. I think you've become also a great director of women, and like Pedro Almodovar, and that when you look at this picture, Jennifer Lawrence. We've seen her quite a bit, but we've never quite seen her like this, carrying a movie in this kind of a role.
It was very new for her to be the center of a film and to not be playing a crazy person. And she felt it emotionally, so that by the time she was 43, she could sit differently because she felt exhausted from having put her emotions into every inch of the movie. There's so many different kinds of women in the story, and there are men who are part of the story in a very beautiful way to me. As allies and as adversaries. I love directing actors, and I also love the new aspirations we had visually with the film, all of which was new for us. But having new people in our ensemble, Isabella, who has such a rich history with Diane. I mean, she made a movie with Scorsese called Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, which I consider an ancestor of our movie in terms of... of films which are about women trying to break out of the cicada who was buried for 17 years. We all can find ourselves in that situation, like George Bailey, where is this it? Am I ever going to break out of this? Who am I? And interestingly, she lost to Ingrid Bergman that year, who was the mother of Isabella Rossellini, and Isabella Rossellini married Martin Scorsese. And then has one of the best divorces in America with Martin Scorsese. So, anyway.
Let's go down the line and talk about the actors here. Diane, since we're talking about you, and we have that whole background here, you play Grandma Mimi, and I think she's this total positive force in this movie. She's so positive in sort of,
Is this on? Can you hear it now?
Yeah, it's on. Talking about Joy and what she can do, and you also narrate the picture, too.
Originally, I didn't narrate the film. that came as a surprise that David and them called me and made that decision. It was a great honor for me. Actually, the narration part of it was some of the hardest work I've ever done in my life, because I had to lower the voice and make the voice different. And I couldn't have done it without David's help constantly. He kept me in a line of doing that to a certain energy. And as I did that, at the same time, as an actress, I was trying to infuse the energy of the words calmly and quietly in a steady way, but infuse it with my heart and my soul into that energy. So for me, the narration part of it was harder than doing a scene, like a back and forth thing that you can change and try and do. So it was a wonderful experience for me, that. And then also working with David, I found that he is one of the genius directors I've been privileged to work with in my life. And then what really thrilled me about being a part of this whole film is that, first of all, the times that we're living in, and I have said this before, it's pretty bad times right now, guys, for all of us. And we need to reach out. But also, you know, I see the next generation, we don't stand around the piano and sing together right now. They're locked over in the corner with their computers, and whereas it may help them with their mental energy, 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And one thing about this picture says, especially to women and also to men, you have a dream? Did you lay it down along the way? Did you forget about your dream? Hey, wake up. Don't forget. If you want to have that dream, do it. Do it now while there's breath in you. Do it. And you will do it unless God doesn't want you to, and it will hurt you. I don't care how old you are. That doesn't matter. Look at Grandma Moses painting those pictures. Dance, sing, paint, whatever it is you want to do. And that's this man's inspiration and gift for you. Seriously.
Thank you, Diane.
You're
so
welcome.
great.
Great, isn't it?
That's inspirational right there.
Yeah.
Now, Bradley, this is your third time around with David as a director. Obviously, Silver Linings Playbook and American Hustle. And I love this character. I didn't know much about QVC, but he's almost like an old-style movie mogul who's got this vision and this whole thing going on there, the way he looks at that studio and approaches the people he puts on the air. What was it about you? Had you ever watched QVC? Did you know anything?
Yeah, I grew up our family surrounded ourselves by QVC and all of the spokespeople. My mother was a disciple of the Home Shopping Network. And I would come home from school every day, and the door would be slightly ajar from a package from QVC. Oh yeah, and when we were talking about the movie, I would say she was a consultant on the film. Would you, David?
Yes. Well, because his mother, he said to me, my mother watched the show religiously. This is before there was 24-hour cable and before there was the internet. So when she would want to be comforted or be up all night, she would watch QVC, and she knew the spokesmodels by name. And I said, well, I must talk to her. And so she told me the names of her favorite spokesmodels who we created in the film and why she liked them and what they meant to her. And that's Drina De Niro, Robert De Niro's.
Drina De Niro is amazing.
Drina, that's Joan Rivers' daughter, Melissa, who her mother had just died.
Yeah, the first thing she had done, yeah.
And Melissa told us so much about the art of that, what she saw from watching her mother there. And Drina just dialed it right in. I mean, Drina is like a punk rock, half Latin woman from New York, and when she put that wig on with that suit, she became a different person. And her and Melissa could have just kept going for hours, and me and me and Jen. No.
And it was like candy. We just said, no, we don't have to shoot yet. We just watch them go.
Yes.
And just sell these products that you wanted to buy. Those necklaces. I don't even wear necklaces.
Bradley, me, and Jennifer, we would sit there mesmerized by them because they were so like
this moment when off the black and the green.
Yeah,
and
look.
It was amazing.
And then and Shelley, our AD, would say, "Guys, we have to move on." We'd just like, "No, wait."
Like eating a sandwich. Wait, 1 second. We're getting calls coming in. Hold on.
I wanted to stop acting and start buying the necklace.
And the fact is that, see, what I loved about the character Bradley played was each character is extremely specific. We made her mother from the South. In true life, Joy's mother was more of a child to her who could watch soaps and be inspired by soaps. And then we got to work with all those great soap actors, which was a whole other thing, which was extraordinary. But she is the unanxious presence in the room. We said she was from the South, which she is. Diane's from Mississippi, and she is the unanxious presence in the room. This was all new for us. Bradley observed, Alexander Payne observed last night that the power of Jennifer playing her first quietly emotional role is almost more powerful than when she is loudly emotional, because it's more interior. Now, Bradley's character, my dad was a salesman, and I knew all these guys with those college rings and those houndstooth jackets, and they're very specific guys, you know, and I love that he had come from such a deep place from the ground up in Michigan, and he'd been given this studio that he took serious as a heart attack. And this guy is becoming a filmmaker. You know, he made American Sniper happen. I've watched this happen with him. He's going to direct, I think. And so for him to be attending to the costumes and the hair and the performance and the heart and juggling the divas, the soap opera divas, I love that it's like anywhere, you know, there's doors slamming and egos happening, you know, and who's a professional and who isn't. I mean, I just loved seeing him in that world and having an ethic that he had. That was what I loved watching.
And speaking of soap operas, Virginia, are you a soap opera fan, or did you have to go into the method world here to play this woman who's obsessed with soap operas?
No, I was like a rabid soap opera fan. I cannot watch the last episode of All My Children because they canceled it. But if I watch the last episode, it means that it's really over. And I started watching them when I was a child because I broke my arm and my older sister, wouldn't let me watch cartoons, and I was forced to watch, you know, Kathleen Turner on The Doctors. But I started to become really fascinated with the world of they're almost like Greek tragedies, and I started to become so fascinated by the style of acting because it sort of reminded me of silent films and what the actors must have had to go through. And I just became completely addicted to Susan Lucci. Like when she arrived on the set, she didn't remember, but I'd met her before. When I went to visit the set of All My Children, because I had made friends with people on the show because I was so obsessed with it, and I met her rushing through a hallway when she was all dressed in leopard. So here she was in the van, we're on the way to the set, and she wants to know about David, and I was doing a well-up because I was actually going to work with her. And because they don't get enough credit really for what they do and how difficult their job was, but we become addicted to the stories because they become a part of your life. And so to now have this role where this is a woman who, unlike myself, she never goes out. The world is a really big, scary place. But everybody that she watches, the world isn't scary to them, and they're strong and powerful women and everything that she wants to be, and she never will be. So they give her strength, and they make her feel like she's somehow in the world, which she's not. And so it was a really easy fit, and I sort of became obsessed with telling David all the ridiculous stories of our Danica, who was Susan Lucci, and how crazy the stories are on those soaps. So it was, I guess, I was tailor-made for this role.
And Edgar, terrific. You get to sing in this too, which is fun. I didn't know you sang before, so
I didn't know either.
Really?
Yeah, that was a new territory for me to explore, you know, hand to hand with David, you know, who really guided me through the whole process to find the tone and to find the right level of intimacy for the character. So that was its own process, you know, just trying to find the singing voice and the style and create it creating the image of this aspiring, and struggling singer. And there was a process that I started, like 2 months before we started shooting the film, and then there was the acting process. I left, I finished this film being so enriched as an actor, because it was, this movie, David gave me the possibility of exploring something in a form of expression that I hadn't explored before. So I'm very grateful.
It's such a great character, too, and it's a great chemistry that you have with Jennifer Lawrence. I thought the two of you, it's very unconventional in movies to see a divorced couple actually friends and friendly and showing this. I can't even think of many movies that do this. And so that was different. It must have been interesting to play, I would.
No, that was beautiful to play, because it shows that and we've been discussing this, in other Q&As, that it gives the audience, and it gives us, it gives me the confirmation and the possibility of believing that the true love does last forever. That if one aspect of a love relationship doesn't work, it doesn't necessarily turn into a failure. It's just an aspect that doesn't work, but the relationship moves on, and the love can last forever, and love and true and unconditional love lasts forever. And the fact that this guy in a macho normative, in a society that at large is the macho mandate is imposed on us, on everybody, not only women but also men we're victims of the macho mandate, because there's a lot of stigmas that also put pressure on men by the macho culture. It is beautiful to see a character that is ready, unconditionally and without any hesitation and without any reservation and without compromising not an inch of his manhood, and completely open and freely supports and celebrates the strength of the woman he loves and the mother of his children. And that is a beautiful thing. So I feel very, very grateful to be able to play a character that is so courageous as Tony.
And Elizabeth down there, this is your second time working with David. You did a great job in American Hustle, as we all know. And
Tell him who she played in American Hustle.
Do you want to talk about it? American Hustle?
No, tell him who she played. Do you guys know who she played in American Hustle? Oh, because she looks so different in that movie. I often forget that she's the same person.
She looks very different from this movie, too. Actually, I don't think I would have recognized you had I just seen the movie here and then you walked in.
I know David's he's like, who's this blonde that keeps showing up to these Q&As? I show him, exactly. I show him, he's like, yeah, we're getting rid of that blonde hair. Forget the blue eyes, it's going.
Well, this is true sibling rivalry. She was almost villainous to me in some ways, because you're so rooting for Joy, and here she is saying, all these kind of putting all this negative energy out with Joy. And it was interesting to watch that kind of sisterly thing going on.
Yeah, from the moment I met Jennifer Lawrence and David for American Hustle, I felt a real vulnerability with Jennifer and a sisterly relationship pretty much right away, and a familial relationship with David. And so when David wanted me to play her sister, that felt really real and really... it just, sometimes I would look at Jen and even though I'm older, and a lot older, I would look at her and, I just would admire her so much. And, I'd watch her grace and her ease in American Hustle and then in this movie, and just in life, her joy, her magic. And, you can't help but, as a sister figure or even as a friend, be envious of all that magic that just streams from her. And I love her. I really love her as a person. And so to play her sister and have that conflict, it's very vulnerable, because ultimately, Peggy feels totally insignificant in this family dynamic. And to really have these, these fights with Jennifer, I think it took a lot of courage to play that sisterly relationship with each other, but also just to work with David again and to immerse myself in a role where, you kind of lose sight of the land a little bit.